anything that grows is either food or medicine or both. At the very least, it has some very crucial use for just general living. So what you have to do to live is you have to have water, you have to eat, but you could go 30 or 40 days with no food and still live. You can fast for 30 days and still live. So if you were airlifted into the Yukon Territory or something, the last thing you should worry about is what you're going to eat, because you could last a long time with no food. But there's food everywhere. So you have to have water, you have to have food, and you have to have temperature regulation. And that's it. And so there's some very basic things that are really important to know how to do those things. You know, how to start a fire, of course, what kind of foods are edible, where to find water, or how to get water in the area where you're at. And there's something else I want to show you that's really important, and that's how to make twine and string and rope and stuff like that. And first of all, what you need is something that is a plant product that's really tough and stringy. So you'll notice that, for instance, in these prickly pear cacti, what you do is you eat the young pads, the new growth pads, because they're really tender and they're not stringy. Once they get older, they're really, there's these tough stringy things in there that make it difficult to eat. Well, guess what that is? That's your material for making cord and twine and rope and things like that. You'll notice that there's been animals chewing on this cactus, probably javelina or something, and this is the stringy fibers that I'm talking about on this older cactus pad. This is the reason you would normally not pick that as food, although the new growth really only grows during the spring. So you can, if you harvest the fibers, see here's what it looks like as it's rotting. These are the fibers that are inside the prickly pear cactus. Here again, some animal has been eating the cactus, and those are the fibers inside there. So I'm going to take one of these pads here that's already, you know, this cactus is dying at that point, and I'm going to show you how to process it. And if I used one that wasn't dying, something like this, you would also eat the actual meat of the cactus itself. You know, first you take the quills off of it, and then you'll pound it up. You'll see, and you'll have food inside of it that you could separate out and eat it, and you separate that from the string. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the quills and all the barbs. This cord on the right, pull it over the other one. And we twist the one on the left, pull it over that one, the center. Twist the one on the right, pull it into the center. Twist the one on the left, pull it in the center. So, somebody who's a wilderness survivalist, an expert in wilderness survival, essentially what he knows is what a 9-year-old knew 200 years ago. That's just the very basics of living from the land, living without modern technology. So 200 years ago, by the time you reached puberty, you needed to know how to live. Remember, they didn't have modern technology 200 years ago. So what's considered survivalism today is what used to be just considered living 200 years ago. By the time you reached puberty, you needed to know how to live. You needed to know how to get food. And 2,000 years ago, probably everybody knew how to do a basic weave, like what I'm doing. You know, and I'm taking some basic fibers and I'm weaving it into a cord. What I'm doing right now is probably the work of a 7-year-old 2,000 years ago. But they did have people who were really good at this stuff, who were weavers. That's what the person was, a weaver. They had probably anybody by the time they're 7 years old knew how to make clay pottery, but there were people who were really good at it, who were experts at it, whose work was worth a lot to other people, and they were called potters. So what you see when you see amazing specimens of Native American pottery that are really fancy and it looks like it was such a difficult skill, well, what you're seeing that makes it look so impressive is somebody who was really good at it. Somebody who was learning how to do that since they were a toddler, who by the time they're, some old lady or whatever, is really good. So I'm just doing a really basic, a toddler's level of skill for weaving right here. And I just wanted to show you how simple it is. Unlike what some people might want you to believe, that it's impossible to come out here into the wilderness and live, and these skills are so so refined and so hard to know how to do, and you got to pay a lot of money for it. The truth is, I'm doing what 3-year-olds used to do right now. In the Bible, Jesus had told his disciples, when you see in the temple, in the sanctuary, in the Holy of Holies, the abomination that causes desolation that Daniel prophesied about, run to the mountains. Leave everything behind. If you're out in the field, don't even go back into the house to get your cloak. These are for people who live in Jerusalem. Don't take anything with you, just run. Well, if there came a point where, because of your spiritual beliefs or because of your political party affiliations or something, you had to run to the mountains, see, unless you know how to live outside of this manufactured fake system of commerce and money and so forth that we've designed, you're going to be in some big trouble, aren't you? So if I were to ask you, well, how would you live if you had to do that, since you're so accustomed to your grocery stores and all this stuff? You might say, oh, well, God will take care of me. Yeah, God is taking care of you right now. Exactly. God will teach you how to live. So pay close attention, because he's doing that right now. Don't be stupid. Okay, so this is most of a single prickly pear pad. Didn't take very long. If you really knew what you were doing, it would even take less time. It's most of it. I'm not quite done, but I'm going to quit right now just for time. And you can see that you can continue weaving these together. Like if you took a large prickly pear cactus, you would end up with a very long cord. Now, what good is cord? Well, cord is used to, say you're building a structure and you need to tie it together, because you don't have a hammer and nails. You use twine for that, a cord for that. Let's say that you need to build a bow drill because you got to make a fire, and that's your method of choice. It's a bow drill. Well, cord would be useful for that. Let's say that you wanted to experiment with hunting. You know, all this, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you know, all this stuff is you don't have to hunt, but you want meat, not a bad idea. You need a bowstring until you shoot yourself a deer or a javelina or something that's got some good sinew, like along the spine or the back of the leg, that you can use for bowstring. There you go. Let's say that you wanted to make like a straw hat or something out of reeds or something that you find, and you want to make the pieces and then sew them together. You see, the use of cord just goes on and on and on, and all you need is any kind of plant with really tough fibers. Now, these fibers would be good enough for making, say, sandals out of, shoes. I mean, you could walk on these fibers. Not to, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's so useful for so many things if you were living free, that it's one of those skills that I think everyone